I'm Melissa Mancini with Canadian HR Reporter TV. I recently sat down with Vince Molinaro from Knightsbridge Human Capital Services to talk about how leadership has changed over the past 10 years.
What companies need to recognize is that I believe that everyone at some point in time wants to come to work being fully engaged, that they tend to respond better by having leadership around them that is inspiring.
How has leadership changed?
For the boomers, the core values for them was to stick it out no matter how bad the situation is from a leadership perspective, and that was fundamental for boomers. Millennials and Gen Xers are asking tougher questions. They look around, they are uninspired by the leadership they sometimes see, and so they kind of are not as likely as boomers to say, I want to be a leader. They want to think about it and really make sure they're making the right decision to lead. I think the past was a lot about the hero leader. It was about the individual. And what that's allowed us to do is always default to thinking that leadership is about an individual, that one person has these magical traits that no one else has. And we know that that's not true. And so what we have to think more about is how do we build communities of leaders where we really leverage the strengths and the capabilities of groups of leaders, because that's what we're going to need to lead companies into the future. There will always be those exceptional hero leaders in our midst, but they're hard to manufacture, they're hard to develop, they just appear and do amazing things. And so what we need to do is balance that perspective with building strong community of leaders and strong leadership cultures.
What do people need to think about before taking on a leadership role?
Well, if someone is going to take on a leadership role in an organization, there's really four things they have to think about. Number one is they have to understand that it is a decision. And so you have to really choose to be a leader. Number two is you have to understand that being a leader comes with an obligation. And that means it's an obligation to, an obligation you have to your employees, to your customers, to your suppliers, to your shareholders. And so as leaders, we have to step up to that obligation. The third, and a lot of people don't like this message, is you need to understand that leadership is hard today and will continue to be harder and get harder. And so we all need to be tough. We need to have real personal resolve to deal with the challenges that we're facing on a daily basis. And we got to remember that just because it's hard doesn't mean it's not going to be fun and it's not going to be exciting. It's just going to be challenging. And finally, you have to understand that it's not all about an individual. That leadership is about a community of leaders, and we have to connect with our colleagues from across the organization to really build this aligned and strong leadership team that's going to help our companies and organizations succeed.